Hi, Charlotte Smith here with BladenOnline.com. Thank you for joining us. Wanted to bring you some video I took earlier in the morning on Friday, May the 3rd, of 4-County Electric Membership Corporation's Safety Director Brent Kroom and First Class Lineman Charles Lewis giving electrical safety lessons to Bladen County students.
We're going to do the little demo for you today. I have nothing written down. I used to just shoot off the hip doing this, so I've done it a few times. This is Charles' first time working with me on this, but it'll be fine. This is a little simulation, or like a little replica of what our lines are like in real life, out in the real world. On either end, on these make-believe poles we have here, are transformers. That's what transforms the high voltage that we have coming into. Well, most of our the primary voltage is 14,400 volts or 7,200 volts, depending on which substation it's being fed out of. Inside, in the middle pole here, this is a breaker. Works just like a breaker in your house. It'll trip if there's a fault on it or if there's too much load on it. So except it's just a lot bigger and different, but it works on the same principle pretty much as a breaker in your breaker panel in the house. And on the other side over there is a generator. When I crank it up, it'll generate the power to come into this transformer on this end, feed up through this. This is what we call a cutout right here. Feed up through this and make this side what we call hot with electricity, and it'll be 4,160 volts. Purposes of having that certain voltage is we get a better, when we try to make it arc with that steel rod and blow the fuse in a few minutes, it works better for what we call having enough fault current to do it. That's about all I could explain about that. I'm no engineer on explaining fault current and stuff, but it is fault current that makes the fuse blow or trips the breaker out. And what we're going to do is simulate what it looks like when you make contact with the hot wire to ground. And the main thing we're doing this is it's showing you what our linemen deal with. But the biggest thing is we want you to understand that this is dangerous. When you see a line down, if you think it's a line down, don't go near it, don't touch it. Let an adult know to call the power company or whatever, but don't get around it, don't touch it. Don't anybody tell you that there's no electricity on it. It may not be, but it's better not to touch it than to take a chance, because a lot of times you don't get a second chance with stuff like that. And it could hurt you really bad too. It can kill you, but it also could hurt you bad enough to where you'll be really messed up for the rest of your life.
Could you tell them like what a line would look like if it's laying down, what they should look?
What you need to look for is if we get a piece of wire off the truck. He'll get a piece of wire off the truck, and we can just. So this here is some little wire that we have on our system. We have bigger wire, but that's a lot. We have a lot of wire like that. That's what we call the size is number 4 ACSR. It's aluminum coated, steel reinforced on the inside. That's why they call it ACSR. It's an acronym for what it really is. Charles is going to get a piece of wire and show you what it would look like draped down. But now also we have cable on some of our poles. You have cable TV, and it could be a cable line draping down from the pole. Even if you see that, this wire is protected with rubber, but you still should not touch it, because if there's a hole in the rubber, then you can still get electricity. But like I said, don't ever touch anything. Don't let somebody get me.
When we have hurricanes and so the power is out, I'm sure that's one thing that all these guys can relate to. Is it because lines are down?
Yes.
Is it because
It's because trees could have fell on the line and caused it to burn down. And what I mean with burning down, when a tree falls on the line, that breaker is going to operate 3 times. And the 4th time when it operates off, it stays off, because there's something they know it senses a fault that it can't clear. Sometimes if you have a limb fall through the line, it may blink the line 2 times, but that breaker comes right back on and it keeps your lights on. Some people don't like blinks. Some people don't like blinks, but a lot of times when it blinks, that means our equipment is working right, because it's keeping you You would rather your power blink a couple times than to stay and just shut off.
Oh, if
So-
mine did at exactly the same time.
Yeah, and that's why that's a breaker working like, and we have breakers bigger than that in substations that carry a lot more amps. Now this here is a fuse. There's a barrel, that barrel hanging down, there's a fuse in that barrel, and when there's a fault on that line that's feeding off of that, it blows, drops open, and that's it. But that helps us what we call sectionalize our system, because when that blows, it maybe cuts off 10 people, and it don't knock the whole line out going back to the station, which we would have maybe 1,000 people out. So it helps us from, I mean, there is a few people out, but it helps from having a lot of people out. This here is the same size wire that's up there. That's what it would look like. And I'm touching this because there's no power going to this right now. But like I said, don't let anybody ever tell you there's no power on it. You can touch it. The only people that should be touching it is people like him and people that work with the power company. Because you can't see electricity. The only time you can see it is if it's going to fault and it's making an arc. But the only time, most of the time, you can't tell if it's hot, or if we say hot, I'm sorry, if it's energized with electricity, is if you put a voltmeter on it, or if we've got a tester that we test it with. So,
in the movies, it always shows it sparking.
yes, and that's possible, but a lot of times, if the system's working right, it may spark for a few seconds, but then it's out.
But it's still hot at that
Yes,
point.
it's still hot. Okay. But the wire may look like this laying down on the ground from where trees fell down here and burn it in two. Naturally, this would be cut in two, but it would be all burned up. And it does, this wire like this will burn in two fairly easy. This is for protection for our guys. This is a little voltage detector, and it slips right on the front of their hard hat. It don't tell you the amount, but it will let you know that it's hot or energized. I'm sorry, we as a lineman we
Just
say
lets
hot.
you show that
It lets you know.
there's energy
And,
flowing around you.
Right, so if you're walking through a right of way or whatever case and you got down wire, then that thing on your head will let you know that it's
See,
hot.
they can see the light right here. Those are little LED lights, every one of those. And when he's walking, that's on his head, on my head. If I'm walking up here and that line's down, you couldn't see it. This here thing, it's called a compass voltage detector. It will start beeping, and the lights will start lighting up that way, meaning that you're down line, or the line that you can't see, that there's a hot line to your left. If you're walking and it's right in front of you, all the lights start blinking. If it's this way, it starts flashing that way, starts lighting up that way. It's pretty neat.
That is
The
neat.
guys that came up with this, the guys that came up with this is a new piece of equipment that's been out about 2, maybe 3 years. Their fathers, uncles, some of them were linemen in their family. I think one of them got hurt real bad, burnt. So these two boys, I say boys, they're a lot younger than I am. They're young. I think they're still college age. They come up with this thing, and they're gonna make a killing off of it.
Yes, they will.
They're expensive, but if it saves one life, it's worth every penny we pay for it.
What are they called?
Compass voltage detector, and it's a good piece of equipment. Y'all can pass that around and look at it.
Be careful. If it's expensive,
Nah.
Well,
don't drop it.
they said don't do it, but they said if it's dropped or even they run over them, they tested and run them over with a vehicle and it would still work.
Wow.
So, okay, but when we have a fault on the line, he's going to touch this plate. Is a ground plate. It's grounded all to this trailer. It's grounded with 1-0 copper. And first we're going to feed it. This line on this side will be the only line that's energized. That line over there is just to help make it look like a real, multi-phase line.
Can you explain to them what grounded is? I don't know that they would even understand. That for every electrical wire you have a ground, right?
We
Isn't
do,
that
and we have a
normal?
neutral. Neutral takes the, if you can help explain this better, Charles, feel free to jump in.
If this was a pole, right, a real pole, this is part of our ground. It's going to the ground, and we've got ground rods, which is right here, and it makes that connection, because electricity's trying to go back home, it's trying to get back to ground.
Okay.
So that's the ground. But this is a hot wire, they're neutral, but it's got the same voltage. It can hurt you as well.
This is a ground rod. Every pole that's got a piece of equipment on it, we drive ground rods and we ohm it out. Now, I can't really explain ohming out. It's a certain reading we have to get on it. It has to be down to 25 or less. And every piece of equipment on the pole, we drive so many of these down, and you got little connectors that you connect them together with. And you keep driving until you get down to 25 ohms or less to help protect that equipment, because if lightning strikes, it's supposed to run off to the closest place to ground. And when we drive these at the poles, it helps bleed off excess electricity and lightning. It's just the main thing. And we've really hit this hard in the last 10 years, and it's helped a lot of our system. It's made a lot of difference with the lightning.
So do you understand what they're saying? The lightning comes out of the sky and it wants to hit the ground, okay? But sometimes we have things in place because we build. So we have these power lines in place. So it's trying to get to the ground, but it ends up hitting a power line and it burns down the line. Well, then that electricity that hits that line is in the line, guys. So it follows that ground, it follows that line to that pole that he has driven in the ground, which takes the electricity away from all of the lights going to everybody else, right? It takes that shock.
Might well become a light.
Yeah. I just want them to kind of
right.
You're
yeah,
right.
just
And,
reword
and
it for
also
them.
see at our substations, that's where all our lines feed out of. There's ground rods driven at certain points, and there's ground grid actually in the ground. And it goes like this every so many feet, like I think it's 20 or 10 feet apart. Then it goes like this, and there's ground rods driven at several points in that substation, and it's all connected together. So that gets the best ground you can get at that station. So any lines you have coming out of that station are all connected by the neutral wire, and that's why that takes all the excess voltage, stray voltage, back to ground. And it also runs it down the pole ground, but the best ground that we got in the system at any location should be our substation, which helps us keep fault current down and stuff like that. I know that might be getting a little deep to explain. I can't really. Fault current occurs when you have a fault on the line.
Is electricity more attracted to this because there is so much metal, like a substation?
Lightning
would it
could
hit?
be, but just like that tower over there, lightning can strike that tower because it's the tallest. It's the tallest
So it's the first thing it can get
in the
to.
area, but it don't mean it's going to actually strike that. It can strike that pine tree before it does that. It just depends on, the location of the strike, I guess. But
But if it strikes that pine tree, it could run in back
yes,
here.
Right.
That's
it
great.
could run in and mess up electrical stuff in the building. I'll say this: it struck a pine tree at my dad's house one time, and he had a little disc that he put behind his tractor. The disc had laying in his garden, and he had it sitting on a old big metal sign where his disc was sitting right beside the pine tree. Lightning struck that pine tree and ran out the root system, and it literally moved the disc over. And that disc was,
So it traveled through the roots of the tree.
That's right.
when it
yes,
hit.
and it didn't pick it up, but it literally blew it over some. And that disc was not real
That's crazy.
light. I mean, it wasn't a great big one. It probably weighed, I would say, 300 or 400 pounds at least.
Wow.
But that's the power of lightning and stuff. I mean, nobody knows. They said it could be 1,000,000 volts in one bolt of lightning, If we could just figure out a way to harness that power and electricity
And reuse it.
and reuse it, that is the key.
So what
We-
are some things that kids need to know, like during a storm when it's lightning like that? What are-
If it's lightning, don't go outside. Stay towards the inner part of your house. I mean, they kind of tell you that with a tornado too, but don't get near a window because lightning can come through the window.
They say don't get in the bathtub.
Don't get in the bathtub. And
They
your
say-
bathtub,
with water, like don't take a shower.
see, water is one of the best.
It's a conductor.
It's one of the best current carrying conductors, and most of it down in the new houses is plastic or PVC pipe. But that water flowing through there is just like a piece of wire bead in there, and it'll travel that, and it could get you that way. They used to stay off a phone, but now we got cell phones, so you really ain't got to worry about it traveling the phone line. That was the main reason there. Yes, ma'am.
It's like lightning. You don't get in the bath
That's what we
when
were
a
talking
storm
about,
comes.
honey.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what we're talking about is lightning.
That's right. You don't get in the bathtub, and you don't go outside. If you are caught outside, they say people used to say get under a shelter, but don't get under a tree, because if it strikes the tree, you get just as low to the ground and as you can to get protection. I think I would get in a car, but because you are on rubber tires, but I'm not saying you just have to. Hopefully, you'll be with an adult that can help steer you in the best.
So talking about harnessing the energy, so I always go back to movies. Sorry, but what is that movie with the
Storm?
No, what is the movie where the lightning, they put these things in the ground, they put the sticks in the ground, and they put like glass or something, and when the lightning strikes, it creates something beautiful.
Oh,
you talking about? It's called Alabama.
Yeah.
Sweet Home Alabama?
Yeah. Is that truthful? Is that?
Yes. We have had, I don't know if you've seen it, Charles, where we've had the line laid on the ground just like that in a sandy area. And it crystallizes the sand because something messed up with our equipment, and it kept the line hotter than normal. I mean, it didn't cut off on its own like it's supposed to, and it crystallized the sand into glass.
And was it beautiful?
I didn't never see it.
I've seen it in underground wire. He's right. Mostly it's going to be in a sandy condition.
The sand
It'll
is
build itself around it.
the reason, and see, part of the reason it didn't trip the line off. See, if that line falls hot and it's still got power on it, and it lays on that sandy ground, sand is glass. So it's just, glass is an insulator. So the line don't see fault, and it could make it stay hot. That's a good reason why I don't ever get around.
So don't go to the beach in the lightning storm.
Your bells right here, your glass.
Yeah, see those, we call them bells. They're actually they're insulators, but they're glass bells. That's an older style. Now we use what they call poly bells. It's made out of plastic, rubbery type stuff. But that's some of the best insulators we've ever had right there. But now when lightning strikes it, it can shatter into a million pieces.
You'll see those things in the antique stores.
That's right.
Yeah, I've got a actual pole top glass insulator from 1951.
Whoa.
The date is actually on it. It says
That's cool.
So that's way.
whatever month. I can't remember the month, but it says 1951. So we got it when we changed the old pole out. It was still up there. We don't have much of that stuff left anymore. But any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
I got shocked one time when I was finna leave with my mom to go get something to eat. I touched the doorknob and it shocked.
That's called static electricity. And
I felt like that static went through my hand out of nowhere. One time,
You
It didn't-
touched something.
it didn't do nothing to me. Nothing did not happen the last time I remember, but it went straight towards it, and I knew it was gonna happen.
yeah.
Because I felt like that thing was shocking like my.
Yeah.
You'll feel it in your fingers.
Okay. If we ain't got anything else, we're gonna get on. We're gonna do the demo for you,
Okay?
and I've got to go crack it up. Usually everybody's standing kind of right where they're at.
The Fort County
what it's gonna
linemen
do
have
right now-
directed the children not to get
It's
close.
not gonna make a loud noise. You'll hear the arc and see the spark electricity going through, and that's what we call the fault current. You'll be able to see it. The arc drawn through it. It's gonna touch from that ground up there. We've got a ground rod in place because the wire we had in there was burning it up and burning it into it so much when we touch it so many times. So we put a rod in there so it can take the hit better. Okay, so that's place. Yeah. See, the security light on the end, or the yard light on the end there went off, which a lot of times if that happens, they go off anyway, and it takes them a minute to come back on. And that's hot there. That is hot. Yeah, I don't know what the temperature is on it, but it's hot. Yeah. All right, Charles. Let's see what we're going to do. We're going to close this barrel in, this cutout. We call it a cutout, but actually some people call them a door, some people call it different line, have different names for it. But that's a fuse. We're going to close that fuse in and open this breaker up, but then it's going to be feeding through that fuse. And then he's going to touch it and try to make the fuse blow. For purposes of not having enough fault current or something that I really couldn't tell you beyond my education, we can't get it to make a noise. A lot of times when a fuse blows, it sounds like a gun going off. If it does it today, it'll be the first time it's ever done it. Most times it just kind of spits and the door falls open. But a lot of times riding down the road, if we see the fuse open and we're going to go on a trouble call, we know the line is out. Not always does it mean that, but when that fuse is open, we know the fuse is at least blown. So, all right, Charles, close it in. And that's what we use. We can use a long stick when the fuse is up on the pole, like that pole over there, to close it in from the ground. All right, he's opening the breaker. Okay, well, what that means to us is that the little yellow handle is down, which should mean the breaker is non-active now, because it's not feeding through the breaker. It's feeding through the, it's still making that, see the light on at the end down there still? But it's feeding through the fuse, so now when he touches that line, it's going to show it's going to sense a fault, and it should kick that fuse out. May not blow it. That's underground primary wire. It carries voltage just like our main line does, but it's got the neutral wire here at the bottom, and this is the hot wire. It's got the hot wire right in the center, and the wire on the outside of the jacket is what we call a concentric neutral. It'll carry a primary line underground just like this does overhead. A lot of people, everybody would love to have that everywhere. It's not feasible to do it everywhere, and even you have trouble with that too. A lot of times when it messes up, it takes twice as long to get it fixed as it does overhead. He's going to throw the fuse in on that one, and it's going to make the end of that hot. When he gets that fuse thrown in, he's going to grab it with his shotgun stick. That's what we call the shotgun stick. And he's going to touch it to that plate and try to blow that fuse. All right, Charles. Okay, see that mate? The end is hot. We've got 4,160 volts on it. Okay, we got the southern breaker in, sorry. See that at night? It's really bright. That's about what would happen if somebody dug into it with a backhoe or a track hoe. We've had somebody dug in. We have on our three-phase lines, we've got 3 of those wires side by side. And when they dig into that, we have a mess. It takes several hours to get it fixed.
And now if you dig something in your yard, you're supposed to call a certain number.
Supposed to call 811.
And you give them your location where you're going to dig. So if your parents ever say, I'm going to go plant some trees, you need to say, you need to call 811.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't hit that power
Otherwise, you
line.
will, otherwise you'll knock out power, and a lot of times you don't have to pay for it to be fixed if it's over.
Have any farmers or anything been hurt because they've hit a power line?
It happens. We haven't had any, thankfully, on our system in a while. It's been a long time. A lot of, we have a lot of, we don't, but throughout the whole nation, because I talk with our federated insurance, and they insure a lot of co-ops across the nation. And they have some where they may change the size of their equipment, it's taller. They go out there and end up running into a line that they really they were aware of the line, but they didn't think about it. And there's been some times, you know, where they get killed or it burns their equipment up for sure, you know. So that's why we try to be aware of anytime we're riding around. If we see light wires going across the field and it looks a little bit low, we'll turn in an order for somebody to go by there and check it. We try to be very observant and stuff like that. But of course, as big as our system is, it's hard to catch everything, you know. Okay, the next thing we're gonna fry a hot dog. What?
Cook that hot dog.
They're getting ready to fry a hot dog on this line. Now,
All right. When that touches the hot, it's gonna make a noise. So don't let it scare you. Just be ready. I'm just warning you. This is gonna be probably the loudest noise you've heard yet. So it's not loud, but it's gonna be.
It's like with a bird, they're like
Yeah. Think about that turkey. Hit your finger or your arm.
You bend the head.
the Bladen County teacher, Amy Schumacher, explained that this would be what the power would do to your skin if you were to touch it.
Oh, fuck, came on the other end. That's crazy. What is the reason, Myers?